ball.
Yeah. Yeah. Right on. All right. Question number 2.
Gotcha.
The greatest lesson from the COVID era thus far. So,
Jeez.
anything that you've learned, anything that you've
Yeah.
picked up on, either about yourself, about your industry, about your practice as a salesperson, what's been the greatest lesson that you've learned thus far? And, I know that pretty much everything's changed for us in the way that we go about selling. But, when that phrase comes on of you are now free to move about the cabin,
Right.
when there's a little bit more room for us to go about and kind of regain some normalcy, maybe go back a little bit to the way that it, was before.
Right.
Is there anything that you're just going to say, no, I'm not doing it that way any longer? I've found a new way during this pandemic and I'm continuing that. So biggest lesson that you've learned and the thing that you're going to hold on to because of it.
I will say, I'll try to answer this in 4 parts. The biggest lesson I've learned so far in the industry, I have learned that you can't escape the facts. And that's why I asked you, I was like, would you be willing to walk away from something? So like everything, there's always going to be a need to buy because it's an efficiency scale of model, right? So if this is going to help me achieve this, therefore I save more money in the long term, or it addresses a certain situation, I have to invest in it. But because that has been so negatively impacted, I realized that I first have to be sensitive to the fact that their budget has been totally chopped down, right? Whatever is left, I'm competing against at least 5 other companies. There's 5 other people like this, right? There's 5 other sellers out there trying to get in. And I have to have that in the back of my mind. Now, the problem with that is I have to make sure my relationship is there so that I can have complete transparency. The worst thing is I always feel like this. You have the right to say no. Just don't waste my time. And when I mean that, and it's not insensitive, because when I call you, I apologize. First, I interrupted your day. You don't know me from Adam, so I'm already intruding. I would never present garbage. And if you agree to continue, just don't leave me hanging, right? So that's the first thing I learned from the industry standpoint, just understanding the market conditions. From a self standpoint from COVID, I think what I've learned is that business is not separate from life, right? And sometimes we like to compartmentalize and put, well, this is my professional life. This is my business life. This is my academic life. But the reality is you are the same person. You might, there's things obviously you're going to vary, but for the most part, you're the same individual in whatever area that you're acting in. So for myself, I had to really understand how a pandemic or just how life can impact you, and mental health has become a thing. I had to realize that PTO is not a bad word.
Right.
I have to take my day. If I'm overwhelmed and I can't perform, I have to utilize this, because ignoring it and trying to just press down the gas, you will burn out and burn bridges, because you'll forget. There's no way you'll forget to develop certain presentations. I just thought of a presentation I got to develop, so you'll forget literally, and that's what I'm saying. You'll forget in the midst, and then when it's time to perform, you can't. So you have to take time for yourself. From a sales point, I will never, ever be so aggressive that I prefer my goals or my analytics over the person on the phone. That doesn't work for a lot of organizations. I have had conversations with C-level buyers, with S-level buyers, and they told me that they just lost one of their team members to COVID. I've had conversations with organizations that they got a relative in the hospital, and I get it. We have a deadline. I get it. We got to build this pipeline. But if I press that gas because my goal, my quota is more important than the individual on the other end, because as the old adage goes, there's no friends in sales. Who am I? You know what I'm saying? Like I from an ethical standpoint, I cannot justify that type of selfishness. I get it. There are some individuals who can throw that out the window and say, look, it is what it is. pardon the pun, and just keep pushing forward, and it doesn't phase them. But for me,
Right.
I have to connect. I have to, as a human being, I feel like my persona, my personal brand is just as equal as the brand that I'm pushing. And if I'm willing to jeopardize my integrity for this quota, it's just not worth it. So that's for me from a practice standpoint.
Right.
Now, like you said, light is at the end of the tunnel. Things that I would do versus kind of would not do or not, kind of engage in. I do not believe in, how do you say this? I don't believe in random attempts to contact. I do believe in being persistent and consistent and being creative. I believe in things like this. I don't believe, however, trying to go in through the back door. And you and me know, there is a path to get to that goal. If that, I don't believe in trying to go into the back door to force who I want to make the decision, right? I think that practice is a timeout for that. And that just goes back to being, I think what people are going to recognize, what organizations are going to recognize is how you treated them during this stretch, right? How you were as a person and how not only did you perform, how did the product perform? And if the sales professional and the product are not on the same level, it's a disaster. So that's, to me, those are the main areas of, I would probably say, focuses that, I would really keep on the forefront of my mind, and practices that I would do or stop doing.